My Iroko spine far outstrongs any bark. Young and trailblazing have been my days. Many and uncommon have been my sights, but not unheard remain my sounds. In my very young years, I have come to find we are a people of amazing color, yet we seem not to appreciate our very own splendor. A people of fluorescence, plugged via God into essence, yet we know not reason for our presence. Colonies and expertise lost in effervescence. How sad the case. But for the white devils, those who commerced our forefathers like kettles, sojourned sojourns that shattered our aged and emptied our temples. Land where the sun is bold and sultry. Never again shall this be the white devil's poetry.
Isreal Adejobi is popularly known as I Am Papyrus. He's a talented young writer, poet, and musician. Isreal has written over 500 poems and is still churning them out. He recently graduated from the Department of Statistics, University of Ibadan, southwest of Nigeria. He joined us to discuss his writings and passion for poetry. Enjoy the interview. I like your story. Fresh graduate from school.
Yeah.
You've been writing for a few years.
Yes, I have.
You do a lot of creative writing.
Yes, I do.
A lot of poetry.
Yeah.
And a whole range of things. For somebody who has just left school or who has been in school all this while and doing all those things, I find that quite impressive. And how has it been writing while schooling at University of Lagos, right?
University of Ibadan.
Actually.
Right. I would say writing wasn't really something I ever thought I would be doing. Although I would say I actually owe a big deal of my writing to my upbringing. I remember back in primary, when I was in primary school. Then during the holiday, I was never allowed to do holiday coaching and any of those things. But by the time holidays are coming, there's a big pile of books waiting to be read. And then 2 weeks before resumption...
Who gave you all those books?
That was my mother.
Interesting.
So 2 weeks before resumption, a week would be to summarize all the books I had read during the whole holidays. And then the final week would be to prepare for resumption back in school. So I would say over the years, there had been a massive build-up of language, of vocabulary, of literature, and I usually like to make this illustration of the mind as a cooking pot, like you're trying to make soup. It's like God has planted some kind of magnet in everybody's mind, and you can never tell what each magnet attracts. My magnet attracted language and literature and all of that, and somehow the Maggie mixes with this and that, and it churns out. For some people, it churns out as music. For some, it churns out as a poetry. For some, it churns out as novels. And by the time writing came, it took me like a flood, basically. I can remember very well the first few pieces. I think my first piece was in 2010. Yes, I remember that. And I remember a poet from South Africa located me on Facebook then, and then we were chatting. And then he was telling me, that was in January 2011, he was telling me about his New Year resolution to do 100 poems in that year. And I was wondering, how could that ever be possible? Poems. How could you write 100 poems in a year? I mean, one poem is enough mental activity. Little did I know that I was going to find myself with over 500 pieces in less than 2 years.
So you've got 500 pieces?
Yes, and the number keeps piling.
Wow, that's a lot. I'm very interested in that bit where you mentioned your mother. Used
Yeah.
to give you piles of books to read,
Yes.
in between sessions.
Yes.
That must have been very, very important and very helpful for you.
Yes, yes, it was not just reading. I was, I would say, I was groomed in reading and speaking. I remember as early as age 8, I once engaged a professor in a dialogue, and he was wondering who is it. And I just wanted to dispense all the grammar in my head. And I also remember in secondary school, as a teenager, I think I found a hobby in reading the dictionary. Growing up growing up with a whole host of adults, whenever I was upset, I just go into my room and read the dictionary, and all those words will stick in there. And then you go back to school the following day, all you just want to do is
Find outlets for
find any random sentence to slot in the words.
Big words.
But little did I know that there was some huge process going on in my mind up there. And now I just find myself, people contact me, oh, you inspired me to do this, you inspired me to do that. And people who never saw themselves writing are huge writers, I owe this to you. And, it's something that has internalized, and now he is oozing value out of me. There was there was a line in one of my social media posts, and I said I breathe poetry. Almost everything I do, even back in school when we were doing abstract mathematics and stuff, I'm looking at mathematics and I'm seeing poetry. That's.
I'm going to take you up on that later on, but I want to talk about schooling now, while you were at University of Ibadan. The same University of Ibadan was where Wole Soyinka was when he was, writing. Yes. Chris Okigbo was writing.
Very much.
J.P. Clark was when he was writing. And even Chinua Achebe.
Yes.
I think he released Things Fall Apart.
Yeah, sure.
I can't remember now, maybe just immediately after he left. He was 27 back then. And so I'm wondering, are there greats in the making right now in Nigerian universities? Because what we hear now is the academic system is falling, the university system, totally falling. Are there people there who are still creating stuff? You are one of them. Are there so many of you like that there?
Very much, very much. Like you rightly said, the educational system is rapidly failing us, and I would take cue from that in saying that in itself is a massive inspiration. I would say it has been a positive provocation to the young ones. They have so much concern, so much worry. Like I always say when I'm at a speaking engagement to young folks, I say life is naturally designed to pump a lot of negative energy at you, but it's left to you to find a way to channel all that negative energy to positive use. And taking the University of Ibadan as a case study, and I'm also familiar to a reasonable extent with the University of Lagos, there is a humongous, there's a large host of young folks who are expressing themselves literally. It's like an endemic.
Whoa, that's interesting.
It's like a plague of art. From poetry to prose to dance to performance. You don't just have the age where you just have poetry on paper is fast ebbing away. You have poetry illustrated in dance. You have poetry illustrated in drama. I have converted a number of my poems to dramas, to full stage play productions, and I also brought in concepts of classical dance, bringing in some salsa, bringing in some ballet into it. it's more or less like poetry. The young ones are now finding a way to express, to bring expression of all that they've seen in the world around them, the pains, the struggles, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they've brought it out in that.
So Nigeria is not killing all that.
Well. I would say Nigeria is not particularly encouraging the young ones. There is a wild troop of young talent. You can walking on the campuses. I can almost guarantee you 6 out of every 10 students you meet have found some expression in art, whether it's poetry or dance or drawings or paintings. I think it's if we are not careful, we would be pushing much of our talent away. You either push them away or you cage them to comply, and they probably end up they probably end up as square pegs in round holes, disgruntled and dissatisfied, basically.
Now, let's talk about your poetry now.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have so much time, unfortunately. Let's talk about your poetry now.
Yes.
What inspires your poetry? Can you share that with us very briefly? What inspires your poetry?
I would say I owe it all to God because I find inspiration in everything. Basically, I have found myself. I could be in a bus. For instance, I was in a bus. Okay, I had been out of Lagos for a while, about 4 or 5 months, and I came back in. And I was on the bus, and I was wondering, oh my God, this is so much wild. And instantly, right there in the bus, all I could see on the streets was wolves and foxes and all of that. And then right there in the bus, I just plugged my ears with my earpiece, and I was on my phone, and I was tapping away. There have been times I could be taking a stroll in the park, and I'm looking at a tree, and the rustling of the leaves. Brings some fresh wave of thought. There have been times when probably my experiences through the week and all of that.
So, all sorts of experiences.
All sorts. I mean, I remember back in my, I think it was in my 300 level, I was in a mathematics class, and I couldn't make head or tail of what the lecturer was saying. Right then, I picked up my phone, and I was dissing my lecturer with the poetry on my phone, and he was busy babbling, and all of that.
He didn't catch you.
Yeah, not at all.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Israel. Thank you for
welcome.
joining us on the Channels Book Club.
My pleasure.
And keep writing those poems.
I definitely will.
I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget you can always join us on any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.